My name is Claudine Turner, and I'm 76 years old. I've lived a life full of love, loss, and lessons, but nothing prepared me for the day my own son tried to take everything I'd built. He told everyone I was losing my mind, that I had dementia, that I couldn't be trusted to manage my own life. He wanted my house, my savings, my dignity. He thought I was too old, too frail, too quiet to fight back. But I let him talk. I let him weave his lies. And then I took the stand in a courtroom and showed the world exactly who I am. This is my story, and I'm telling it not just for me, but for every person who's ever been underestimated, erased, or betrayed by someone they loved. So, settle in, grab a cup of tea if you'd like, and let me take you back to the moment I realized my son was trying to steal my life. It started with a whisper I wasn't meant to hear. I was in the hallway of my home, folding towels, my hands moving slower than they used to, my joints stiff but my mind as sharp as a tack. The white towel in my hands felt like a flag frozen mid-wave, suspended in the quiet of that Arizona afternoon. I heard my son's voice, low and deliberate, drifting from the living room. She's forgetting things more often now. Marcus said, names, appointments, where she puts things. I think it's early dementia. My heart stopped. My breath caught in my chest. He was talking to my granddaughter, Nia, my sweet girl who's always had more sense than either of her parents. She didn't respond right away, just made a small, unsure sound, like she was weighing his words. Then I heard her voice, soft but clear. She seemed fine to me. I smiled, a flicker of warmth in the cold shock of that moment. But that smile didn't last. Marcus pressed on, his tone smooth, calculated. She hides it. That's what they do in the beginning. They cover it up until they can't anymore. We need to think long-term, especially with the house. The house, my house. The one I'd paid for, maintained, and loved for over 40 years. The one where I'd raised him, where I'd mourned my husband, where I'd built a life brick by brick. I set the towel down, my hands trembling not from age, but from betrayal. I walked back to my bedroom, shut the door gently, and sat on the edge of my bed. I didn't want to hear another word. Not that day. Not like that. Marcus had always been practical. That's what his father called it, practical. I had other words I'd kept locked away in the quiet corners of my heart for years. After my husband passed, Marcus stepped in more, checking on me, offering to handle bills, suggesting I simplify my life. I let him. I thought it was kindness. I thought it was love. But that day, in the stillness of my bedroom, I saw it for what it was. It wasn't love. It was positioning. He was laying the groundwork to take what was mine, to convince the world I was no longer capable, to erase me from my own story. That night, I couldn't sleep. I got up, opened my desk drawer, and pulled out my folders. Bills, medical papers, prescriptions, tax records, everything in order, labeled, neatly stacked. I'd been running this house for decades. There wasn't a single thing in my life I'd forgotten that wasn't worth forgetting. I ran my fingers over the files, grounding myself in the truth of my own competence. I was 76, yes, but I was not fading. I was not slipping. I was Claudine Turner, and I was still here. The next morning, the mail brought a notice from the bank. An online request had been submitted to access my accounts, citing durable power of attorney. The request was made by Marcus Turner, my son. I never gave him power of attorney. Never signed a single paper, never whispered a single word of consent. Heat rose in my chest, a fire I hadn't felt in years. I called the bank immediately, my voice steady as I blocked the request. Then I stepped outside, walked through my garden, and let the cool air calm the rage bubbling inside me. He was moving faster than I'd realized, building a case against me. Step by calculated step, I thought about confronting him, sitting him down, demanding to know what he thought he was doing. But something stopped me. A quiet voice in my gut said, "Not yet. Not until you're sure." Over the next few days, the pieces of his plan fell into place like a puzzle I wished I could unsee. My neighbor Barbara, sweet but forgetful herself, dropped off a casserole with a pitying look. "We're praying for your mind. Claudine," she said. "Let us know if you need help remembering appointments." My mind Barbara, who couldn't recall her own phone number without a post-it note, was praying for my mind. I thanked her, closed the door, and leaned against it, my heart pounding. Then came a call from my doctor's office. A referral had been filed by my son for a geriatric memory assessment, scheduled for the following week. "Excuse me," I said, my voice sharper than I intended. The receptionist hesitated. "Yes, ma'am." He mentioned concerns about possible dementia and said he was managing your care. I canceled it on the spot, my fingers gripping the phone so tightly I thought it might crack. That evening, the mail brought the final blow. A legal document, a petition for guardianship, filed by Marcus. He claimed I was no longer fit to manage my financial or medical decisions, that I was confused, that I'd misplaced payments, that I needed intervention. He requested full authority over my estate, my house, my savings, my life. There was a court date set for 3 weeks out. I sat at my kitchen table, the letter in my hands, and stared at the words until they blurred. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a setup. My own son was trying to declare me incompetent, banking on the fact that I was 76, that I lived alone, that I had wrinkles and gray hair and sometimes forgot where I'd left my glasses. No one would question it, he thought. No one would doubt the concerned son looking out for his aging mother. I wasn't shocked. I was humiliated. And then I was angry. That anger burned through me, hot and fierce, but I didn't let it consume me. I folded it into resolve, sharp and steady. I didn't call Marcus. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. Instead, I reached into my kitchen drawer and pulled out an old address book. Its pages yellowed but familiar. I flipped through it until I found the name I hadn't dialed in over a decade. Denise Franklin, elder law attorney. We'd gone to school together in the 60s, 2 Black women carving out our place in a world that didn't always make room for us. She was sharp then, and I knew she'd be sharper now. I dialed her number, left a message, my voice calm but urgent. "Denise, it's Claudine Turner. I think my son is trying to steal my life. Call me back." She called the next morning, her voice as fierce as I remembered. "Don't worry, Claudine," she said. "Let him keep talking. We'll let the court hear the truth." I didn't feel strong yet. I didn't feel brave, but I felt seen, and that was enough to keep me going. Marcus wanted a case, I was going to give him one, and I wouldn't be the one forgetting anything. The days that followed were a quiet war. Not the kind where you shout or throw plates. I've never been that kind of woman. This was a war of precision, of patience, of proving what I knew to be true. I started with my calendar, flipping through the last 6 months, marking every doctor's appointment, every bill payment, every birthday call I'd made to Nia, all in my own handwriting, all on time. I highlighted each entry in yellow, building a paper trail so clear a judge could follow it from my front porch to the back fence. Denise had told me judges love evidence, and I was determined to give her a mountain of it. Next, I called my doctor, not the one Marcus had tried to funnel me to, but my real doctor, the one I'd trusted for 20 years. I explained everything, my voice steady but heavy. She was stunned. He's claiming what she asked? That I'm not fit to manage my life? There was a long pause, and then she said, "Claudine, you're sharper than most of my staff." She wrote me a letter, signed and sealed, stating that I was mentally sound, medically stable, and fully capable of managing my affairs. I placed it at the top of a new binder, just behind the legal notice Marcus had filed. That binder became my shield, my proof, my truth. Denise came over that Thursday, her navy blazer crisp, her laptop and scanner in tow. She had the look of someone who'd fought battles like this before and won. We sat at my kitchen table, the sunlight streaming through the window, and she scanned everything: the fake medical referral, the guardianship petition, the fraudulent power of attorney request Marcus had sent to the bank. "I can file a counterclaim to block the petition now," she said, her eyes scanning the documents. "But I'd rather wait." Why, I asked, my brow furrowing. "Because if we wait," she said, "we let him build his confidence. Let him put more lies on record. Let him dig his own hole." It made sense, but it burned. It meant sitting still while my only child dragged my name through the mud. And I couldn't say a word. Not yet. 2 days later, my daughter-in-law, Tasha Rachel, as I called her, though she hated it, phoned. Her voice was chipper, too sweet, like syrup gone bad. "Hi, Claudine," she said. "Just checking in. We're having dinner next weekend with my mother. Thought we could bring you along to talk some things through." Talk some things through. Did she mean explaining why she was standing by while her husband tried to declare me incompetent? "I'll let you know," I said coolly. "My schedule's a bit full." She paused, probably surprised I could still string a sentence together. "Well, we just want what's best for everyone," she said. "Especially you." She hung up before I could respond, and I sat there, the phone still in my hand, wondering how love could twist into something so cold. That evening, Nia came by, her eyes nervous, like she was stepping into deep water. I hugged her, sat her down with a cup of peppermint tea, and waited. "I overheard Dad on the phone," she said quietly, her hands wrapped around the mug. "He was talking to a broker about selling the house. He said once the court grants him control, it'll be easier to liquidate everything. That he already had someone interested in the property." I didn't react. I just let her speak. "How long have you known something was wrong?" I asked. She didn't blink. "Since last month." I didn't want to believe it. I nodded, my heart aching for her. "I know, baby. Sometimes it's easier to believe a lie when it comes from someone you love." She reached into her backpack and pulled out a sheet of paper. "I wrote everything down," she said. "The dates, what they said, if it helps." I took her hand, my eyes stinging. "It helps more than you know." That night, I added Nia's notes to my binder and slept with it beside my bed. A quiet reminder that I wasn't alone. By the next week, Marcus was getting bold. He sent a formal letter to my doctor's office, requesting my medical files, claiming he needed them as my acting agent under power of attorney. The office rejected it immediately and sent me a copy. I handed it to Denise, and she smiled, a glint in her eye. "He's panicking," she said. "That's good." She filed an official objection to the guardianship petition, including the medical evaluation, my calendar records, Nia's statement, and the evidence of Marcus's fraudulent bank request. We were ready, and I hadn't said a word to Marcus since it all began. Let him keep talking. I thought, let him build his story. He believed his lie so much. He forgot I remembered everything. A week before the hearing, Marcus left a voicemail, his voice dripping with the fake concern he always used when he wanted something. "Hey, Ma," he said. "Just checking in. Hope you're feeling okay. We're almost through the process, and then you won't have to worry about bills or paperwork or anything stressful again. This is what's best. Love you." I saved the voicemail, not because I believed him, but because I wanted the judge to hear what his love sounded like. This wasn't about care. It wasn't about concern. It was about control. And soon, it would be about consequences. I could have stopped it all sooner. I could have called Marcus the moment I got the bank notice, slammed my hands on the table, demanded answers until he cracked. But I didn't. I wanted something better than an apology. I wanted the truth to come out in front of people who mattered. People who would write it down, stamp it, and make sure he could never erase me again. Denise said the hearing would be short. Guardianship petitions usually are, but we were going to make it more. This wasn't just about my name on a piece of paper. It was about how easily people can be convinced that the elderly don't know who they are anymore. In the week leading up to the hearing, I played a part. When Rachel came by to check in, I opened the door in mismatched socks, let the kettle boil a little too long, moved slower than I needed to. When Marcus called, I let the phone ring 5 times before answering, my voice breathless, dazed. "Oh, Marcus." "I forgot what day it was," I said sweetly, all while writing down every word he said, every fake concern, every rehearsed warning about how the system would take over if we didn't act now. The system I'd built, the system, paid into it for 45 years, raised him with 1 paycheck and no weekends off. And now, the same child I'd taught to count dimes on the coffee table wanted to convince a judge I'd lost the mind that shaped him. Let them keep talking, I thought. The more they explained their plan, the deeper they sank. Behind the scenes, Denise was a silent storm. She arranged 2 expert evaluations with doctors who specialized in cognitive health. I passed both exams with ease names, numbers, patterns, memory tasks, not a single misstep. The doctors were impressed, noting my lucid recall and excellent executive function. Denise smiled when she read the reports. "He's going to walk into court thinking he's prepared," she said. "We're going to ruin that illusion in 15 minutes. The day before the hearing, Nia came by with a soft lilac blouse, saying it made me look like a gentle hammer. I laughed, unsure what it meant, but loving the sound of it. She was nervous not about the outcome, but about what it meant for her father, about watching him unravel in public. "You don't have to speak, baby," I told her. "Yes, I do," she said, her voice firm. "If I don't, he'll do this to someone else, or to you again." I hugged her, my heart swelling. "I'm proud of you," I said. "I'm proud of you," she replied. We didn't cry. Some moments are too heavy for tears. The morning of the hearing, I woke early, dressed slowly, took my time with my hair. I made tea, not because I was nervous, but because it reminded me I wasn't rushing to prove myself. I'd already done that. The courtroom was small, more like a waiting room with wood paneling than a place where lives are decided. Marcus and Rachel sat across the room, dressed like they were attending a funeral they were secretly pleased about. He smiled at me when I walked in. I didn't smile back. The judge, a woman in her early 50s with sharp eyes and short hair, had the look of someone who'd seen 100 guardianship petitions and could spot a bad one from a mile away. Marcus spoke first, clearing his throat, spinning a tale of concern. "My mother's been showing signs of memory decline," he said. "She forgets simple tasks, misplaces money. I've had to step in to help with her mail, her prescriptions. This isn't about control. It's about care." Rachel nodded beside him, her face a mask of rehearsed sympathy. Denise didn't interrupt, just took notes, calm and steady. When it was her turn, Denise stood, handed the judge a packet of documents, and began. "Your Honor, we have full cognitive evaluations dated within the last 2 weeks, verified by 2 board-certified specialists. We have banking records proving independent management and a calendar log maintained by Ms. Turner that goes back over 6 months without a single missed entry." The judge flipped through the pages, her eyebrows rising. Then Denise gestured to Nia. "We also have a witness with first-hand knowledge of the petitioner's intentions." Nia stood, her steps steady despite the tremble I knew she felt. She was sworn in, her voice clear as she spoke. "I'm here to tell the truth," she said. "My father told me my grandma was slipping, but every time I talked to her, she was sharp. She helped me with my college papers, caught a mistake in my FAFSA." A few chuckles rippled through the room. I overheard my parents discussing the house. She continued. "They said once the guardianship was approved, they'd sell it immediately. That this was their chance to get ahead financially. My grandmother isn't sick. She's just inconvenient to them." The judge nodded, and Nia returned to her seat, squeezing my hand as she sat. Then it was my turn. I rose, walked to the stand slowly, not because I was weak, but because I wanted them to see the strength in every step. I was sworn in, my hand steady, my heart full. The judge looked at me over her glasses. "You may proceed, Ms. Turner." I took a deep breath, and I spoke. "My name is Claudine Turner. I am 76 years old. I am of sound mind, clear judgment, and perfect memory. I have lived in the same house for 43 years, paid the mortgage, the bills, and raised a child who now sits here trying to take it all from me." The room went silent, Marcus frozen in his chair. "I may forget where I put my keys," I said, holding up my calendar. "I may leave a grocery list on the kitchen table, but let me tell you what I haven't forgotten. I haven't forgotten my doctor's appointments, my utility payments, my checking account, or when the property taxes are due. I haven't forgotten the day my son tried to take it all away." Denise handed the judge the cognitive evaluation, and I continued. "The medical tests are there, but I want you to hear it from me. I'm not confused. I'm not disoriented. I'm not fading. I'm angry. I'm insulted. And I'm still standing." I paused, letting the words settle. My son, Marcus Turner, told my granddaughter, my neighbors, my doctor, this court, that I was no longer fit to make decisions. He never asked if I needed help. He decided I did, and it wasn't out of love or worry. It was for control. He wanted the house, the accounts, the power. Denise submitted the bank letter and the fraudulent power of attorney request. The judge read them, her face unreadable. He tried to access my savings behind my back. I said, filed legal papers claiming I was incompetent, never once sitting across from me like a man to tell me what he was doing. My son didn't just lie about me. He tried to erase me. I turned slightly toward Marcus. Not because I needed to, but because I wanted him to feel the weight of my words. And I let him talk. I let him tell his story to anyone who'd listen. Because I wanted the truth to be loud when it finally hit the air. The judge looked at Marcus. Mr. Turner, did you have access to any of these evaluations before filing your petition? He hesitated. No, Your Honor. Did you request an independent evaluation? I thought she wouldn't agree to one. He said weakly. I was trying to act quickly in case her condition declined. She declined nothing. The judge said, her voice firm. Marcus shrank in his seat. A boy caught stealing, but this time, the jar held a deed, a bank account, and 30 years of my dignity. The judge turned to me. Ms. Turner, is there anything else you wish to add? I nodded. Yes, I want it on record that I revoke any informal permissions I may have given Marcus Turner regarding my affairs. I also request that this court bar him from future guardianship filings without medical documentation from 2 independent specialists. The judge nodded. It will be noted. I looked at her, my voice steady. And one more thing. I may be 76, but I'm not done living. And I'll be damned if I let someone write the last chapter of my life without my permission. A quiet murmur ran through the courtroom. The judge tapped her pen, leaned back, and delivered her ruling. I've reviewed the evidence. The cognitive evaluations are conclusive, the witness testimony compelling. The petitioner has not demonstrated sufficient cause. Guardianship is denied. Power of attorney remains invalid. Ms. Turner retains full authority over her life and estate. Denise exhaled. Nia gripped my hand. And just like that, it was over. I rose from the stand, not fast, not slow, but with purpose. I didn't look back. I didn't need to. The shame was already sitting next to Marcus, wearing his name. Outside, the Arizona sun hit differently, brighter, clearer. Denise turned to me on the courthouse steps. That was one of the best testimonies I've ever witnessed, she said. I smiled. Raising that boy should have qualified me for a law degree. We laughed, the sound light and free. Naya wrapped her arms around me. I'm so proud of you, she said. I squeezed her tight. No, baby, I'm proud of you. You spoke up. You saw the truth. She stepped back, her eyes bright. What now? I looked up at the wide blue sky. I'm going to write a new will. I said, I've got some edits to make. She smiled. Can I be in that chapter? I winked. You already are. The days after the ruling felt like waking up from a long, heavy dream. For the first time in weeks, I didn't open my eyes with dread pressing on my chest. No looming hearing, no lawyer calls, no pretending to misplace my glasses. Just peace. I sat on my porch with my tea, watching the steam rise into the cool air. My hydrangeas were blooming, bold and stubborn, like they knew their owner had won something worth celebrating. Mid-morning, Rachel called, her voice stripped of its usual pretense. We didn't mean for it to get that far, she said. I stayed silent. It was Marcus's idea. She continued. I didn't know he was filing anything until the papers were in. You thought you'd get the house? I said calmly. She paused. That's not fair. No, I said. What's not fair is trying to put me in a facility so you could cash out and call it love. Her tone sharpened. Do you know what Marcus is going through? The debt, the pressure, the responsibilities of being an only child? Don't talk to me about responsibility. I said. I raised him with one paycheck and no weekends. I didn't steal to do it. He had a choice. You don't have to be cruel, she said. I'm not cruel. I replied. I'm clear. And I hung up. 10 minutes later, Marcus called. I let it ring, then blocked his number. I didn't need apologies laced with excuses. Didn't need his voice trying to soften what he'd done. I needed space. I needed to remember who I was before they tried to convince me I was nothing. That afternoon, Nia came over with a chocolate cake, raspberry frosting. My favorite? It's not your birthday, she said, setting it on the table. But surviving your own funeral deserves dessert. We laughed, the sound echoing through the house, the first time I'd laughed freely in weeks. We ate 2 slices each, sitting on the porch with the box between us. I looked up elder fraud cases last night. Nia said quietly, there are so many like yours, but most don't end like this. They don't have Denise, I said, or a granddaughter who listens. She blushed, looking down. I should have said something sooner. You said it when it counted, I told her. That's what matters. After she left, I opened the drawer where I kept my will. I sat at the dining table, pulled out a pen, and started writing a new one from scratch. The first name I wrote was Nia's. I left her everything not out of spite, not to punish Marcus, but because she'd earned it. She saw the truth, stood by it, held the door open for justice to walk through. The second name wasn't a family member. It was Denise. I set aside a donation in her name to a legal aid organization for seniors fighting fraud and forced guardianship. I wasn't just leaving a house. I was leaving a message. I mailed the documents to Denise that evening. She called the next day. I see you made some changes, she said. Hope that's not a problem. Not at all, she replied. It's beautiful. The next Sunday, I stood in my kitchen, kneading dough to jazz on the radio. I hadn't baked bread in years, but starting over made me crave the scent of it, the process of building something from nothing, letting time and heat work their magic. Around noon, a courier knocked, handing me a legal-sized envelope, no return address. Inside was a handwritten letter from Marcus. I guess there's nothing left to say. He wrote, "Thought I was helping? I know you don't believe that. Maybe I don't either. I hope one day you can forgive me. No, I love you. No apology. Just an attempt to soften what couldn't be softened." I folded the letter, tucked it behind the court documents in my binder, not to hold on to it, but to remember how far I'd come. The truth is, Marcus never expected me to fight. He thought I'd fold, fade, sit quietly while they boxed up my life and rolled me into a facility with soft walls and scheduled meals. He thought I was too old, too gentle, too alone to make noise. And I let him believe that until it was time to speak where it mattered. But winning wasn't healing. 4 days after the ruling, I walked through my house, the rooms feeling new, reclaimed, as if the walls had held their breath, waiting for me to choose myself. I sat with an old photo album, flipping through birthdays, school plays, scraped knees, graduations moments when I thought I was building something unbreakable with my son. But paper can't hold people together, not when one of them sees blood as a ladder. That night, I lit a candle. Not for grief, not for Marcus, but for closure. The next morning, Nia texted, 3 words, "Can I visit?" I replied, "Always." She arrived with flowers and a folder. I printed something. She said, "I want your help." It was a personal statement for a social justice fellowship, answering the prompt. Describe an injustice you witnessed and what you learned. She'd written, I watched my father lie about my grandmother to take what she built. He said she was forgetting, but I saw everything, and I won't forget. She looked up, nervous, too harsh. No, I said, it's just honest enough. We edited it together, tightened lines, added one at the end. She taught me what it looks like when a woman takes her voice back and protects her name. While folding laundry, Nia asked, "Will you ever talk to him again?" I smoothed the towel, pressing out the crease. "I don't hate him," I said, "but I can't trust him. Trust is like glass. It doesn't go back together the same after it breaks." She nodded. "But he's still your son." "Yes," I said, "and I'm still his mother. That doesn't mean I owe him the rest of me." That night, I wrote a list in a notebook titled, "Things I Will No Longer Apologize For." Speaking plainly, saying no, protecting my peace, refusing to shrink, trusting my memory, choosing the granddaughter who chose me. I tore out the page, taped it to my fridge, and felt a weight lift. Days turned to weeks. The house stayed quiet, but not empty. Nia visited often, with cookies, books, or just silence we shared. I started volunteering at the senior center, helping others organize documents, understand rights, spot financial abuse. One woman said, "I didn't think people like us could fight back." I smiled. We don't just fight. We win. Word spread, and I was invited to speak at a legal workshop for elder rights. Denise introduced me. She didn't just survive an attempted guardianship scam, she dismantled it with dignity and turned it into power. I stood at the podium, looking at faces my age, some wide-eyed, some weary. Getting older doesn't mean becoming invisible. I said, "If someone tells your story without your permission, take the pen back." They clapped. I didn't cry. I just felt tall. Months later, Marcus sent a birthday card. Inside, he wrote, "I don't expect forgiveness. I owe $100,000 to people I shouldn't have borrowed from. I thought selling the house would get us out of danger. I panicked. You didn't deserve what I did. No, I love you. No apology. Just desperation dressed as explanation." I folded it, placed it behind the first letter, the court documents, the will, not to hold on to it, but to mark how far I'd come. Guilt isn't redemption. Fear isn't an excuse. When someone tries to silence you, erase you, claim they know what's best, they don't get the final say. You do. This is my story, but it's not just mine. It's for every person who's been told they're too old, too weak, too forgetful to matter. It's for every senior who's felt the sting of betrayal, the weight of being underestimated. If my story resonates with you, I need you to do something. Like this video. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to this channel so we can keep telling stories that matter. And leave a comment. Tell me where you're watching from, what time it is, what this story means to you. Your voice matters. Your story matters. Let's take the pen back, together.